with the employers on airport. And what happens is an interested candidate can go to the WorkSource Center to get information about jobs at the airport, as well as come into the Business and Job Resources Center. When we receive information about positions from the employers on airport, we send that information out to our network of WorkSource centers, employment development agencies, and tell them about the open position, and then they refer candidates back to us, and we refer those candidates to the employers.
Well, you mentioned a couple of ways of getting the word out. What other kinds of outreach programs do you have to make sure that the right people know about the right programs?
Well, we do work with community and faith-based organizations, the state employment development departments. We've even started working with the Veterans Agency. So we work with a number of employment agencies to help us get the word out about the program, as well as we do have the Business and Job Resources Center at which people can get information directly about the positions.
No doubt there will be Los Angelinos who might be eligible for the First Source hiring program, but maybe just lack the skills needed for certain positions that happen to be available. Is there a training component involved in this at all?
Well, one of the other benefits under the Community Benefits Agreement is the job training program. However, that program has not yet been approved by the FAA. It's still under discussion. As a result, but we do work with outside partners for job training, so if someone does not have the skills, we look to one of our other partners to help train them.
Certainly some applicants may need help writing a resume. If you've ever been in a hiring position, you know what that's like. Or maybe they have trouble simply filling out the application. Will they be offered help in those areas as well?
Yes, as a matter of fact, through our WorkSource centers, the applicants are able to get help with resumes and with some of these soft skills that may be needed to help polish them for positions.
Is the First Source hiring program a standalone program, or do you have relationships maybe with other job programs involved throughout the city?
Actually, the First Source hiring program is in itself a standalone program. However, the Business and Job Resources Center does partner with a number of other programs. We actually work with WorkSource centers. We work with a number of agencies to provide information about jobs. So we would like to look at this as a resource to the community about the jobs and opportunities at the airport.
If somebody happened to see you testifying before council or here on Council Week in Review, they might think you're just some do-gooder who thought this was a great idea and showed up and volunteered to help. You've been working hard for the city for a long time in a variety of capacities, haven't you?
I certainly have. I've been working for the City of Los Angeles for 17 years now. Prior to this, in the City Administrative Office and with the airport for about 5 years now.
And one of the other things that I know you've been doing at the airport is you've been seeing it as a tremendous underutilized resource for the employment engine of the City of Los Angeles and for the region. Some of your programs for employment opportunities go back many, many years. What have you done and how successful has it been?
Well, the airport is a major economic engine in the region, and I think what's very inspiring to me is that the airport has taken the time to work with the community to find a means to get people around the airport to take advantage of the airport jobs, about the opportunities on the airport. And after 9/11, when there was the downturn, we looked at how to help people at the airport get jobs outside of the airport. So we're flexible. We're looking to help people regardless of what the circumstances are.
And of course, part and parcel with that industry is the aerospace industry in Southern California, and so many thousands of people have been displaced from that industry over, well, I guess about the last 15 years or so.
That's correct. And so there are a number of very talented workers who are able to transfer the skill sets that they've learned in one particular job and transfer them to another position. And that's what we look at. We look at the kind of skill sets that people have, and we look at the transferable skills, and we provide assistance in those areas.
We also know that as a society we are turning out more and more ex-offenders and putting them back out to try to get back into the workforce. And I know that's an area that you are particularly concerned about and sensitive about.
We are sensitive to the area of ex-offenders, and we try to help as much as possible. However, as you're also aware, at the airport there are very strict security concerns, and so we have to, one of the things that we do is pre-screen and pre-qualify the applicants, because in accordance with the regulations for security, there are certain requirements, and so we have to make sure that those are fulfilled. However, for jobs that do not have the high security requirement, we do look for ways to help people in those positions.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was getting at. would these typically be jobs that might not actually be within the confines of airport property, that might be in satellite areas that are adjacent to and feed the airport?
That's correct. Those are the types of jobs that the jobs that are off airport typically are the ones that are more available to people who's with those conditions. Yes.
Are there any other particular populations that you are looking for that you think might be particularly helped by a program like this?
Well, we hope to help as many people as possible. Under the Community Benefits Agreement, the goal is, and again, when the job training program is set up, or when we're able to finally set up a job training program, we're hoping to extend the number of people that we're able to assist, perhaps those who have barriers to employment, such as transportation. And again, working with partners, we're able to help people who may not have the transportation to get to the airport achieve those means.
I think you said a little while ago that the program has been in its opening stages for a little less than a year now. Do you have a track record yet that you know how this is going to go and how many jobs you might be able to provide, how many people you can help?
Well, there are a couple of answers to that. One is we started with one employer in December, and now we've grown to about 40 employers with whom we're working on airports. There are about 300 employers altogether, and one of the things that we're looking at is we're hiring a consultant to help us talk with the employers on airport to look at the best ways to get information out. To get information from them, as well as to get applicants to them. We're looking for the most efficient means to do that, and we want the employers on airport to participate in this process so that we can come up with a process that everyone is willing to work with, and that's really a benefit to all, both the employers as well as the prospective employees.
By the way, how have the prospective employers taken to this program? Is almost everybody saying that's a great idea, count me in?
Well, for the ones with whom we've begun to work, they have recognized it as a benefit. In fact, they know that we're sending them pre-screened and pre-qualified candidates, and therefore they prefer to look at the candidates that we send them rather than candidates they may get from other means which are not pre-screened and pre-qualified. So for those companies with whom we have begun to work already, they recognize the benefit and they talk to other companies, and so the number has grown. I think there may be some initial resistance for the companies who are not familiar with the program, only because they're not yet familiar with it. But this is one of the things that we'd like to do. Take the time to talk with the employers, help them understand that we are providing a benefit to them to fill their positions. So we want to know exactly what the positions are, what the characteristics are they're looking for, and then we want to work with our partners, the WorkSource centers, because the candidates are available. The candidates are there, willing to work, so we want to provide that perfect match for the employers as well as the prospective employees.
Well, if the last few minutes are any indication, you're a terrific ambassador for First Source. Let's get to the most important question, perhaps, of the entire program. How can our Channel 35 viewers get more information? Who do they call? Is there a website?
Well, I'll give you the phone number. The phone number is area code 310-417-6490. That is the phone number to the Business and Job Resources Center at Los Angeles World Airports. And actually, we're located at 6151 Century Boulevard. It's very easily accessible, and you do not have to go through any security requirements to get to our building. However, our website is at this point under construction. We are working on getting one up and running very soon, and we know that that will be a big help to us in terms of getting information to people about this program.
And the director of the program is Joyce Sloss. Ms. Sloss, thanks for joining us on Council Week in Review.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to be with you.
And remember, you may also dial 311 for additional information on the First Source hiring program or information on any city program or service. 311 is your one call to City Hall. LA City View is the government access cable channel for the City of Los Angeles, featuring live coverage of City Council meetings and programming about City Department services and events. Now, if you have suggestions or comments about any of the programs you see here on Channel 35, or would like to receive a free viewer guide, call our viewer hotline at 213-473-3978. And we invite you to address the Los Angeles City Council on any item on the council agenda, as well as during public comment. You may come downtown to City Hall or go to the Van Nuys City Hall and participate via video teleconferencing. And remember, you can watch all Los Angeles City Council meetings live in their entirety on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays beginning at 10 a.m. On Sundays, you can watch the replay of all the week's meetings, also beginning at 10 a.m. Well, that concludes our program for the week ending September 14th, 2007. On behalf of William Kidston and everyone here at Channel 35, I'm Jack Popejoy. Thank you for watching, and please join us for the next Council Week in Review.
Hello, I'm Councilmember Wendy Gruhl. Ovarian cancer is one of the leading causes of death in American women. Each year, 20,000 women are diagnosed, and nearly 15,000 will die. Our best defense against the dangers of ovarian cancer is early detection. A woman's chance for survival is greater if the cancer is found early. So please, be sure to have your annual physical, a pelvic exam, and a regular blood test. Contact the Ovarian Cancer Coalition for more information on signs and symptoms. Early detection can help save lives.
What's shaking? We're not prepared for an earthquake. I love the rain, but we're not prepared for a flood.
Sure, in the movies, this is all pretend, but in real life, you gotta be prepared for any type of an emergency. You can't predict, but you can prepare.
Yeah.
How'd you know? The ball called.
Be prepared at LAFD.org.
LA City View Channel 35. Your city, your channel.
Good morning. This is a meeting of the Los Angeles City Council. It is Tuesday, September 18th, 2007. Council meets Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We encourage the public to attend. If you are unable to attend, you can access through council phone as well as through our website, www.lacity.org. And we encourage you to participate in civic responsibility here in the city of Los Angeles. I think, Mr. Clerk, we do have a quorum. Please call the roll.
Alarcon, Cardenas, Gruel, Hahn, Weezer, Lavange, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Rosendahl, Smith, Weiss, Westenstein, Garcetti. 10 members present and a quorum, Madam President.
Thank you very much. First order of business.
Approval of the minutes.
Yes, Mr. Parks moves, Mr. Alarcon seconds.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Those will be approved.
Madam President, this is Tuesday and there is a flag salute agendized for today.
Yes, if I could ask Mr. Reyes to lead us in the flag salute today. If I could ask everyone to please rise.
Right hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Before we take public comment, I'd like to run through the agenda. Mr. Clerk.
Madam President, before beginning the regular agenda, there has been a request to continue item 33 to October 19th.
That will be continued till October 19th, you said?
Correct.
Thank you. First order.
On the regular agenda, items 1 through 6 are street lighting district items, notice for public hearing. Council should continue the hearing and ordinances to October 2nd.
Unless objection, those will be continued.
Item 7 is a public convenience or necessity item in Council District 1, notice for public hearing. A motion is required to grant or deny the application.
Mr. Reyes, on item
Yes.
number 7, we do also have a card on item number 7, and I think requires public comment, so we'll hold that.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes. Next item?
Item 8 is a building and safety assessment, notice for public hearing, and there is a card on that as well.
Yes, we'll call that special.
Items 9 through 26 are items for which public hearings have been held. Item 9 is confirmation of a city official. Do you wish to hold that on the desk?
We will hold that on the desk, and I'd like to call, we do have cards on item 11, but I'd also like to call item 11 special. Any other specials, colleagues? Items 10 and 12 through 26. Any other specials? If not, Madam Clerk, please open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the votes.
10 ayes.
Those items have been approved.
The ordinance will go over for 1 week.
Thank you. Next items?
Items 27 through 65 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration. Item 27 is a commission appointment. Do you wish to hold that on the desk?
We will hold item 27 on the desk. Ms. Perry?
59.
Hold 59? Okay.
I would like, call that special.
Special.
Okay.
Any other items to call special? Sorry, Mr. Parks?
55 through 58.
55 through 58?
Yeah.
Okay, 55 through 58.
And Madam President, there are cards on item 53.
We'll hold item 53 on the desk as well, special. Any other items? If not,
And Madam President, there's been a request to hold item 28 on the table right now.
hold item 28. Okay. If there's no other specials, Madam Clerk, please open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the votes.
10 ayes.
Thank you. Next item?
Item 66 is the closed session item, and there has been a request to continue that item to Friday.
Thank you. That item will be continued till Friday. Thank you.
That would take you back to public comment, or the item's called special.
Thank you. I'd like to first acknowledge our President of the Board of Public Works, Ms. Reese.
Good morning, Madam President.
Good morning.
I am here, and I'm joined by some friends. We're here to launch the Combined Charitable Campaign. The Combined Charitable Campaign is city efforts to have city employees give back to one of 10 nonprofits. They can donate a one-time donation, or they can do the donation through a payroll deduction. And there's 10 great nonprofits they can give to: the Asian Pacific Community Fund, the Brotherhood Crusade, the City of Hope, Community Health Charities of California, Earthshare of California, Hispanic Scholarship Fund, Meals on Wheels, United Latino Fund, United Negro College Fund, and United Way of Greater Los Angeles. From now until the end of October, we're asking city employees to be generous and donate to this campaign. And as you can see, I'm joined by many of the foundations and many of the great city leaders in the city, so we're asking everyone that's a city employee to contribute to the Combined Charitable Campaign. And if they want any information, they can go to give2la.org. Again, give2la.org. And they can donate, like I said, through either a payroll deduction or through a one-time donation to these 10 great nonprofits. Most of them are umbrella organizations that have actual 400 charities. So there's something for everyone. Everything, if you're interested in the environment, interested in health issues, interested in education, there's something for everyone. So we're asking all the city employees to join us on the Combined Charitable Campaign. I know that Councilmember Rosendahl was very generous last year and donated $100 to Meals on Wheels. And this year, I'm starting off the campaign, and I'm going to make a one-time donation of $100 to the Brotherhood Crusade. So for the council members, I hope you assign your coordinator in your office to work with the campaign. It's a very important campaign, and I want to thank Councilmember Wesson for sending a representative to the breakfast this morning. Trudy came to the breakfast, and it was very helpful. So I'm asking all the council members to join with us in the Combined Charitable Campaign. I'm also joined by Commissioner Cardenas, who is going to be working with me on this campaign. It's a campaign that the mayor is going to get involved with. So I ask each and every one of you to give to our Combined Charitable Campaign. And again, if you want more information, you can go to give2la.org. Thank you very much for your time.
And before you leave, Ms. Reese, I just want to acknowledge Mr. Rosendahl for comments.
All right, we're going to get some more money.
Thank you, Madam President. Indeed, I'm going to write another check for $100 for Meals on Wheels. I was with a whole group of people in my district delivering Meals on Wheels. I delivered one to a gentleman who was 100 years old. And Meals on Wheels, my father used to take his cart until he was 85, and then he had a stroke and couldn't do it anymore. But a lot of seniors get involved in Meals on Wheels. It's a way of connecting with one another. Some are shut-ins and lonely. And I just think what you're doing is fantastic, and to see a lot of people that I know that are engaged in city business with us standing right behind you. It's an honor for me to give you another $100 for my personal money, obviously, for that. Bless you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rosendahl. Thank you, Cynthia, for you and all of the people standing behind you who are helping make this possible. Really appreciate the leadership of Public Works.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'd now like to go out to the San Fernando Valley. We have two public speaker cards, Miriam Fogler, followed by Donna Perelman. Ms. Fogler.
Speaking of that, if you want them to give contributions from the city employees, they need the COLAs. They need the cost of living adjustments because we're way behind. And I don't see how we can make any donations to any charities. You're also increasing the DWP rates, which is a big ripoff to the city employees, a slap in their face. After all, you're asking money for them for these different charities. And another thing is these special events, they add up quite a bit of money here. They're adding up and totaling up, and you know, that's another reason why you're ripping off the public and the city employees again, folks. You're slapping us in the face. You're not giving the employees their fair share. We're going to have to take what we need to do, whatever steps to stop you from getting your pay raises every single year automatically under Proposition H, which should be repealed by your Ethics Commission, who doesn't have any power at all. This is like just a figurehead here. They don't have a say over what you do. Since I understood that Zion and Villagrosa was fined, and also the point is that you were also put in your third term illegally by going ahead and just voting 15 votes instead of the people when they put the Prop R in. When they put 2 terms, they did it through the initiative process. You did it through 15 votes, folks, and this is absolutely illegal what you did. And this should be challenged. I hope that you hear me out there, David Hernandez. You should challenge them on that basis because it's illegal what they did, period, and that they're not giving a fair shake to the city employees which they represent for the city of Los Angeles and the county and the state. All the government workers are being slapped in the face because I know what your people are doing. They're the middle income people.
Thank you very much, Ms. Fogler. Donna Perelman out in the San Fernando Valley.
Right. I'm Donna. I'm back in Van Nuys again. It is really nice going to Spring Street. I took the Red Line rail. Looks like a subway to me. It was a nice ride, but I find it very confusing. I don't see anyone buying a ticket. No one asked to see my bus pass. Also, it's the same with the Orange Line. The bus driver did not want to see my pass. I don't understand why where people are buying their tickets. It would be easy for people to get on rail for free. And I don't see people asking to see your pass or ticket on the rail either. Seems like someone could get on with explosives because I don't see anyone having to show what they're carrying. Whether have safety over inconvenience. I also...
53 special events.
Oh, yeah, 53 special events because I probably won't be here. That's a terrible waste of money. I haven't gone through on it, but I see a lot of CD13. I don't know why you need to waive all these fees. Anyway, I also didn't really have a choice of buses. Because buses that used to go downtown now stop at the Red Line, so that means people don't have a choice. You must go on the subway. I suppose some of you council members takes the Red Line earlier, of course. The Red Line goes through Mr. Garcetti's districts. Perhaps you take it. And as you make sure all people getting on the bus either have pass or a ticket, the rail will lose money. It already takes money away from the MTA to fund it, and it can't lose money. I hope it's built strong enough for an earthquake. We haven't had a major quake, I don't think, with all this underground rail. You want it may look futuristic, but it also fits Los Angeles. I personally wish to get the trolley car myself, red car. It was economical and it was really nice and above ground. And people really loved it. It's even in pictures. It's nice in San Francisco. We should have it here, especially in the Valley, with its with a part. Though I may spring myself on Spring Street again, earlier, of course.
Thank you so much, Ms. Perelman. Coming back downtown to have Michael Carrion, if I could please have quiet in the chambers. We're having a public speaker. Mr. Carrion.
Yes, my name is Michael Carrion, and I'm from the 14th District, and I'm here to address the City Council as to the actions of Mr. Weezar and his employees, or I should say the lack of action from Mr. Weezar and his employees. For the past 6 months, we've been asking to find some information out on getting the curb put in. But the employees of Mr. Weezar don't stay there long enough to find out. Mr. Weezar's employees are dropping like flies. They're being put on the endangered list. Nobody either wants to work for him or nobody either stays working for him. When I brought this issue to one of his aides, Mr. Avila guaranteed me that things would be done. But again, nothing has been done. Several weeks I've been told, oh, we'll have an answer for you by Friday. Oh, we'll have an answer for you by Friday. I have called Mr. Weezar's office 4 times and left a message for Mr. Weezar, informing him that this is continuing. So I would appreciate if Mr. Weezar did not get up this time and say, I did not know anything about it. It comes a point where people come to City Hall because they're fed up of dealing with your office, being told that yes, things are going to get done, but no one's returned my call. No one from the city has returned Mr. Weezar's office call for 6 months. I find that difficult to believe. After being threatened by Mr. Avila, since he felt that I threw Mr. Weezar in front of the bus, that anything that I put forward will not be dealt with, and I guess he was true to his word, because the situations that I brought up have not been dealt with. But Mr. Weezar, I will be here for the next 4 years, just like you, in these chambers, for 4 years.
Please direct your comments to the full council.
I will be here for 4 years.
Thank you very much. I believe, yes, Mr. Weezar.
Yes, I just want to let you know, my colleagues know, and the public know for the record, that we often talk with Mr. Carrion. In fact, I talked to him last week. We saw him here in council chambers. There are a number of issues that he has brought to our attention at our Al Sereno office, which we have dealt with and corrected. Often and obviously, some issues don't get as quickly resolved as we all would like. We're working with our departments as quickly as possible, such as trimming trees, repairing sidewalks, and other issues that we all deal with in our respective districts. So I just wanted to state for the record that we do and often meet with Mr. Carrion, and as you all know, we see him here practically every other meeting, stating the same items. So I just wanted to say that for the record. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Weezar. I think we'd like to go next to item number 9 for the appointment of our fire chief. If you'd like to come forward, I'd like to acknowledge Mr. Weiss. If I could ask Mr. Chief Barry to come to the front, please.
Thank you very much, Madam President. And colleagues, we have it's a historic moment for us today. I believe that in a very few number of minutes, we are going to confirm the nomination of Douglas Berry to be the permanent fire chief of the Los Angeles Fire Department. It's going to be a very proud moment for all of us, a proud moment for the city, and a particularly shining moment for the department. I just want to reiterate a couple things that I said yesterday when you were in committee. Number one, it's been a real pleasure working with you personally, and I don't know anybody else who works in or around city government who doesn't feel exactly the same way. I'm sure everybody in this room has an individual story to tell of seeing you at the scene of a fire or a disaster or a medical emergency, and just not only noting your calming presence, but also the very high level of discipline and competence that you bring to those situations. Yesterday in committee we talked about when you came to the Coldwater fire. I'm sure Mr. LaBonge can tell similar stories about you at Griffith Park. And the list goes on and on. It's been a real privilege getting to know you over the past year, and it's going to be an equally high privilege to work with you over the next couple of years. One thing I just want to say again, and then we want to give you a chance to tell us why you want to be the fire chief. but that I just think just cannot be emphasized enough, is that you have found a way to bridge this gap between the management of the department and the employee organizations. And it is so critical, because in fire department especially, everyone ought to be on the same side, everyone ought to be on the same page. And where we used to have rancor in the past, we now have cooperation. And it's such a delight as a council member to see that. I want to congratulate you and encourage you, although I said yesterday you don't need any encouragement because it's clearly in your blood, to continue that level of cooperation and good relations, so that none of the issues that happened in the past come forward. At the same time, we're all looking forward to you to deal with these very thorny, very complicated issues that, unfortunately have been in the newspaper over the last year, but we're very pleased with the steps that you have taken collaboratively to deal with them. So, folks, before you make your speech, I just want to say I present to you the next Fire Chief of Los Angeles, Douglas Berry.
Thank you, Mr. Weiss. Mr. Berry?
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the council. I'm indeed pleased and proud to be before you today. I'm particularly pleased because I have my family with me, my wife, Roberta, two of my daughters, Sabrina and Crystal, and my granddaughter, Taya. I also have members of the Fire Commission, Mr. Arnett Hartsfield, one of our retired African-American firefighters, one of the original Centurions, and my command staff, employee organizations, all here to support me. So I'm really, really pleased to be before you. As many of you know, I was appointed as the acting fire chief in December 2006, and a few months later I was appointed as the interim fire chief, which was April of 2007. During the time as the interim fire chief, I assessed the needs of the department. I evaluated the department's policies and procedures and practices, and I made and are continue to make necessary reforms to strengthen the department overall. Some of the accomplishments we've achieved, we've developed an audit action plan with the help of the Fire Commission that includes communicating the expectations of zero tolerance of discrimination, hazing, and pranks. We've enhanced our leadership and human relations training when we developed a plan to revamp our department's disciplinary system, and we've enhanced our recruitment efforts. Also, in addition to the audit action plan items, we've also continued to implement our 5-year EMS deployment plan. We've hosted a multi-state training conference, conducted a major community evacuation drill in the Hollywood area, and improved management and labor relations. But there's still more to be done. I feel the future of the fire department is bright, and some of the things we will be working on is to enhance our homeland security efforts, continue to improve our emergency operation effectiveness and efficiencies, implement a fire fatality reduction plan, do a department reorganization, and develop a 5-year strategic plan. And once again, I want to say how pleased and honored I am to be before you today, and I will take any questions you may have for me at this time.
I'd like to thank you for your comments, and we have a lineup of a number of council members as well who would like to ask some questions and give their comments, starting with first Tony Cardenas and then Dennis Sine will be after that. Mr. Cardenas.
Thank you for offering yourself to this responsibility. I know it's, in my opinion, a double-edged sword. It's a great honor and to take on that responsibility, yet with it comes responsibilities that have to be overcome. For example, in our face today, something that affects the people of Los Angeles by the coffers of the general fund is when discrimination and or hazing goes on and then it culminates in some kind of either lawsuit or settlement or what have you. The money that is actually utilized and put out there actually comes from the same fund where we need to build streets and roads, where we need to trim trees, where we need to pay firefighters and police officers, etc. So it really is a waste of funds when we find ourselves in that situation. What makes you think that you have what it takes to actually overcome that once and for all, something that's been going on for decades, something that some people, even within the department, I'm sure think, well, boys will be boys. It's a culture that isn't a Los Angeles culture. It's a culture that is something that happens in every city throughout the country and county. And what makes you think you're going to change that once and for all in this city? My time, please.
Thank you, Councilman. Just two things. Number one, I think the most important thing is that we have unparalleled support and partnership between the fire department management, the employee organizations, the fire commission, the mayor's office, and the council. I've been unparalleled in the 32 years of my career that I've seen it such a level that it is today. In addition to that, the fire commission of the department has developed recommendations for an audit action plan, and we're working with them and with these stakeholder groups, the employee organizations, to fill out that plan. And development and implementation of that plan will get us where we need to go. And the last thing is I'm going out personally to reemphasize, to stress, and to make sure it's clear what the expectations of the department, of the city is. I'm going out and doing that in several forms, but the most effective way is me going out personally to all the work locations.
Well, one thing I can guarantee you is the rhetoric is unprecedented. It really is. We've had countless news articles, we've had cameras in here in different parts of the city talking about it or what have you. But what are you going to do tangibly? What's going to be the difference? What's going to once and for all close the door on this inappropriate activity that happens in firehouses throughout the country?
Several things. First of all, I think the first part of that is communicating clearly what the expectations are. The second thing is develop and to provide additional and enhanced and targeted training on those areas that people don't seem to be getting the message. The third part of that is our disciplinary system, making sure that it's effective. We have now disciplinary guidelines to make sure the penalties are consistent so that when those types of actions happen, we can take swift and firm actions to correct them.
So what you're telling me, when it comes to discipline, now you're talking leadership of various levels. The commitment on leadership within the department, the commitment of the firefighters themselves, and all of our firefighters are members of an organization.
Exactly.
Is that organization in tune with those new disciplinary methods and actions and documents?
The employee organizations played a part in developing those guidelines and the changes that we're putting in place.
So you feel confident and comfortable that so far we still have full cooperation?
Yes, I am.
To get a handle on this?
Yes, I am.
And to end it once and for all?
Yes.
Okay. How long do you think you're going to need before you can come before this council and tell us that you've stamped that out?
Councilmember, I will never be able to tell you that, and there will never happen again. I think that's with 110 work locations, I cannot give you that assurance. I can tell you that we're going to send the message. There will be a clear message sent. There will be a reduction in the frequency and the degree of these types of situations. And when people do violate the rules, they will be dealt with swiftly and firmly.
Okay. So are you prepared to come before this council and give us a report on that progress?
Yes, I can give you. We're in the process now of vetting out some of the elements of the implementation plan. We're doing that with the mayor's office. Those items we brought to council within the next few months. So I would say within the next quarter or maybe 6 months, I'll be able to have a complete package to present and talk about.
With all due respect to the chair of the Personnel Committee and also the Public Safety Committee, I'm not asking that he circumvent those policy committees if they want to discuss that or what have you, but I look forward to those committees and or this council as a whole to be able to hear the progress and to know that that progress is in fact in action, not just on paper, but that progress is actually bearing fruit, that it is actually getting into the mindset of our department.
Mr. Cardenas, which is that actually Mr. Huizar and I, he chairs the Audits Committee, have had a series of hearings that are continuing into progress related to the audit the controller did. And so we've had those, and we're going to continue to have those, and we'll let you know when we do that in the future.
Okay, look, thank you for that update, but the main thing is, what I like about this city council is the fact that we happen to have some reporters here that might not be at committee. We have cameras here, so what you say, what we say is in full view of the public. And that's why I like, whether it be a more concise report or dialogue or what have you, but I like the dialogue to take place here, even after good policy dialogue has taken place and good progress has taken place there. So congratulations on your wonderful decades of work with our department. I do personally support you becoming our permanent chief, and also at the same time, what I would really enjoy is the opportunity for you and I to have this dialogue in the future before the public of Los Angeles and let them know that we've got this under control. Because right now, it is, as far as I can tell, it has been out of control. It is still out of control. Thank you.
Mr. Zine is our next speaker.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning.
Good morning.
It's nice to see your family here. Seeing you get grilled before the City Council. Been a firefighter 32 years. Rose through the ranks.
Yes.
When you joined the fire department 32 years ago, it was a different fire department.
Yes, that's correct.
And I'm sure in those days, firefighters, because of the color of their skin, because of their gender, they couldn't work in the opportunities that they have today.
Yes.
So it's changed. It's been a change in environment.
Definitely.
And Mr. Cardenas mentioned about the hazing, about the pranks, and I know that since you've taken command, there's been a whole different attitude within the fire department. An attitude that if you do something wrong, there's going to be some serious consequences. You've worked under a number of fire chiefs, and the former fire chief, Belmonte, I thought was a good man who tried to make some changes, and I look at the command staff that unfortunately didn't really carry out to the division levels, to the station levels, really what his mandate was, to make that fire department. And there's no question that people love the firefighters of Los Angeles, the paramedic service, the fire service. They're there, they're very dedicated. But when you're sitting around for a long time, then sometimes people play games. And we know the consequences here in this body of elected officials and to the taxpayers. And I've got great confidence in your ability to make sure that doesn't occur. I've got great confidence in you with that. I've also seen your retirement parties. While you're the interim fire chief, you were there.
Yes.
Big parties, small parties, you were there, representing the command staff of the fire department, showing those firefighters and their families your care and dedication for them. And I think I commend you on that. To your family that's seen you through those 32 years, seen you from the rookie firefighter on up to where you are today, the first African-American firefighter in the history of the city of Los Angeles, long overdue. And I know there was a national search, and after that national search, they said, you know what? We want to keep Chief Barry on as the permanent firefighter. So I don't have any tough, hard questions for you because I've seen you in action, I've seen you at work, I've seen you in the field, so I've got great confidence in your ability to lead it. I just hope that when that day comes when you say, yeah, I want to retire, you may want to forestall that because I know our conversation before is you were looking forward to retirement. Now your family's been rejuvenated to say when. That paycheck's going to keep coming in, it's going to keep getting bigger because now he's got the fire chief position. And we need to have consistency in that because when you leave, there's another one. And during this turmoil that the fire department's experienced, we need to maintain the stability. So I hope that you will stay and get that ship sailing in the proper direction so we can maintain that in the history, the proud tradition of the Los Angeles City Fire Department. You'll have my support, and I know that seeing the command staff here, they're very pleased to see this selection. It's unusual to have a temporary and then to become the permanent, but it shows your leadership qualities. And to your family, I commend you for all those nights, those weekends, those holidays when you were celebrating activities and he was at work with the fire station. So it's all come around now, so you're in command of the organization. So I commend you, I congratulate you, and to your family, you've got a good man that there's always a good woman behind the man. You got 3 of them, 4 of them right there for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman.
Ms. Gruhl.
Thank you. So pleased, as I said at the press conference a few weeks ago, thanking your family for giving you back to the city because I know they were anxiously awaiting, at least that's what I think your wife said. She was anxiously awaiting your return home and your retirement. But when you were first appointed, we sat in my office and I asked you that question, would we ever be able to convince you to stay because your reputation preceded you about your ability to make things happen and to get things done. And you assured me at that time, didn't think it would ever happen. So I thank the mayor for twisting your arm a bit to be able to have you sit here and to be the next chief of the Los Angeles Fire Department. As has been mentioned by my colleagues, there's a lot of challenges, and the people do love their fire department out there and want to make sure that there is an ability to see that you're addressing some of the concerns that have been raised, whether it be the controller's audit or some of the other challenges that we face in the city of Los Angeles. I also met with your staff yesterday about technology and ambulance billing, which is and the handhelds, and I made a statement there, and I'll say it again now, that the fire department has been woefully, I think, underfunded on the issues of technology. And as much as I love the police department, they've gotten all the bells and whistles, and the fire department has been, I think, severely limited by the fact that we don't have the kind of technology needed, and so look forward to that. And you can be penny wise and pound foolish. I actually think an investment in that technology will help save lives and also allow us to collect revenue more quickly. So I would be interested real briefly on your comments on how you think technology is going to help your department.
Well, Madam Councilwoman,
Hold my time.
one of the things that you mentioned about the handhelds for the EMS or the paramedic and the ambulance services, we're going out to an RFP for that. What I've told the command staff is next year's budget, 08-09, our focus is going to be on infrastructure, the things that you've talked about. We have not focused enough on technology, not focused enough on support staff, and we're going to be doing that for the next couple of budget years, trying to bring ourselves up to where we need to be in those areas. So that's one of the things we're really going to be doing. We're also looking at some data management systems for our Fire Prevention Bureau and a few of the other bureaus that need those types of things, and we're looking at the hardware aspect as well, as far as putting T1 lines to all the fire stations and tuning out some of the servers.
Look forward to that coming back to the city. And colleagues, as you may know, the way we now bill or get the information is a paramedic literally writes in triplicate, has to press down with that pen hard enough, and then it's sent gray mail and inputted into the computer, and there are several points along the way that could potentially limit our ability to collect the data as well as the revenue. I think both are critically important. Lastly, before my time expires here, I do want to emphasize the importance of trying to get more women in the fire department, and what we can do, particularly the 3 women here on the City Council, to help address that issue. What are the barriers to that, and how do we work with the department to ensure they feel comfortable when they come into the department? And so I hope, and I know this is who you are, that we don't just see you every now and then, and that you will come and tell us what we can do to help. And I've had the opportunity to have meals at some of the fire stations, to stop by and to talk to them, which is, I know you indicated to us that you've gone to almost every fire station in the city.
60 of them.
60 of them, which is the best way to be able to have that kind of interaction and have discussion with the men and women who are on the lines every single day. So thank you for your willingness to stay on. It's a historic day in the city of Los Angeles, and pleased. And again, thank you to your family for supporting you so much. I know they're very proud of you today. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you, Ms. Gruhl. Ms. Hahn is next. Ms. Hahn?
We need to try to get
Ms. Hahn?
more women on the city. I thought you said Mr. or somebody. Thank you, Mr. President. Chief Berry, I certainly rise to congratulate you, to congratulate the mayor for what I think is a stellar appointment as the new chief of our LA Fire Department. And like Dennis Zine, I like the idea that you've been a 32-year veteran of the department, and I love it when we give someone like you the chance to be the top manager of a department that you've served in. You've come up through the ranks. I think that sends a great message to all of our city employees in all of our departments that, if you work hard, if you show leadership, if you've been there, you have an opportunity to one day run the very department that you've been giving your life to. So I think it says a lot. And I believe in your ability to be what I think you need to be right now, and that's a reformer. I really think you have the qualities it's going to take to reform the department. And I think we're all feeling the frustration, as are certainly the taxpayers, of the money we're having to shell out to settle some of these lawsuits. And I think we're all really believing, enough is enough. We've got to figure out how to get that under control, and I think you're the person to do that. Our controller, her audit was pretty scathing. It pretty much said people of color and women overall have said they were victims of harassment at some time in their tenure in the fire department. So that stuff just has to end. And it's unfortunate because, as Ms. Gruhl said, most people out there love our fire department. They love the men and women, and the majority of the men and women who work hard in the fire department and put their life on the line every day are very well respected in the community, very loved, and very needed. We do depend on our firefighters on a regular basis to save lives, and so we want you to commit to us that you'll put that behind, you'll really put it behind us, and you'll really be a reformer, and that's what we want. On that note, I introduced a motion along with Mr. Parks and Ms. Perry almost a year ago. It was a suggestion by the former Fire Commission President James Blanchard that, much like the police department, has the time come in the fire department to maybe have an inspector general as part of the fire commission that becomes that outside entity that makes sure that your great efforts to reform, your great ideas, your great leadership in leading this department are really implemented. Those ideas are implemented. I think a inspector general in the fire department could be that entity, much like the police department, to make sure that everything that we want to have happen happens. What do you think about that?
Councilmember,
my time, which is already over.
That is part of what's going on right now. We have a work group, including LAPD, to look at best practices for a revamped disciplinary system. The Inspector General is part of that, and along with the Mayor's Office, Police Department, and ourselves, we're working on developing that with CLA and CAO involved as well. So that's being looked at as we speak.
That's really good to hear. Well, I just dropped in at Station 36 on Saturday, the brand new fire station in San Pedro. Looks great. I will tell you, from the men that I talked to that day, they're all have very much faith in you. You've got the respect from the rank and file out there, and I think that's great to hear. What's important to me, of course, is that port. I want to keep that assistant fire chief at the port working on an evacuation plan. I want the full-time hazmat always at 48s. I don't want to share that with the rest of the city because I think our potential down there in San Pedro to have some major disaster at the port is imminent. So those are important to me, and I love the fact that you are in San Pedro every Sunday morning as a deacon of Mount Sinai Baptist Church. So that makes me feel even better knowing that you're there and you're very aware of the potential danger that we have down there around the Port of Los Angeles. So congratulations. I'm your partner. Anything we can do to help you lead this department, but you're, I think, the right man for the job at the right time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hahn. And Mr. Rosendahl is next.
Well, it's just very interesting. The good Lord works in mysterious ways. I didn't know you were a deacon. That's a new dimension that I've just learned about you. Well, when I saw Janitha Hudley Hayes smiling over there and beaming over there, who is head of the commission, who's a dear friend, we go back 20 years at least, I know that you're in a good class with her backing you. And then I went over to Steve Tuff, the guy who runs the union, and I said, so how does the rank and file feel about this guy? He says the members love him. He has the trust of the members of the union. With the rank and file believing in you, and with the leadership of Janitha Hudley Hayes backing you, I have to think of the funeral you and I were at just a little bit ago for David Pass, a young man. He was in his prime, and he died in a motorcycle mishap. And we had a chance to compare notes about life and compare notes about you as the interim chief. And the one big issue that you hear everybody talking about is getting rid of this crazy, hazy business. You know, I'm on the budget committee. We go into closed session and we try to figure out how to resolve these issues. It ends up the taxpayers paying for these stuff. And so I know you're the kind of leader that loves the rank and file, loves the constituents, and is an honest, open guy with no hidden agenda at all. And I pledge to you that as a council member, we will give you the tools when I talked about tools that you need so that you can move forward with this. Take advantage of the honeymoon, take advantage of the new day, the hopes and aspirations, and come to us with some tough stuff that we should absorb and appreciate your leadership and give you that backing that you so rightly deserve. You know the fire department, you know the rank and file, and I am just thrilled that you decided not to retire. Somebody must have really twisted that arm. And we're all better for that. Bless you. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Perry.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And Chief, I too am looking forward to working with you, and we've had some positive experiences, and you've been very responsive. Each one of our districts has something unique about it, and I wanted to just ask you a little bit about filming and the relationship between the fire department and the pretty heavy activity, filming activity in Council District 9, especially with respect to pyrotechnics, incendiary devices, and gunshots, I guess. Fire department would be involved in that too. Anything that might cause fire, explosions, things like that. And what your understanding is, what the policy is now, and where you think we might need to go in the future.
Well, as a regulatory agency, we're always somewhat in a mode to where we have to make decisions or make requests that maybe the film industry may not like or want to do. I think the biggest issue that we have on the fire department is we don't have enough staffing to really to oversee all of the filming sites that are taking place. So we have what's called a spot check program where we hit different locations at different times of their shooting. The additional staffing would definitely help us do a better job. But we're working well with what we have. But again, staffing is the biggest issue for us.
And the other question I wanted to ask you, and maybe this is a longer conversation, has the department had any training about the change in the demographics, particularly downtown, that there's more people living now down here in areas that were traditionally maybe industrial or commercial, which is where a bulk of the problems have come anyway?
As far as demographics, we have enhanced our human relations training, and that's part of that understanding the changing demographics, and what we need to be aware of and how we can, again, work together with the community. As far as the changes downtown, there is going to be a lot more people living downtown. It is going to increase the number of responses that we're going to have to make with the same number of fire stations. I've spoken to the head of the planning department, and I suggested in the future, when large developments come into planning, that we look at maybe having the developers invest in the infrastructure of the city, like fire stations, libraries, and the such, because of the impact they do have on the city.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Alarcon.
Yeah, Chief. I too rise to express my support for your permanency in the department. And I know that you have the equipment to handle the job, but I also have to take issue with the consistent actions of the department that are really disparaging not only our fire department but Los Angeles City as a whole and our workforce as a whole. And I am just not convinced that we are on a track to eliminate the kinds of hazing and pranksterism that occurs. And I know you are well familiar with, having been on the department for 32 years. I'm not hearing anything specific that would alter the course. I do know that firefighters work 24-hour shifts, and that's rather unique throughout the nation, because I think the vast majority of departments throughout the nation they work on 8-hour shifts. And there is some concern that because their proximity and their relationship of working closely together, that in fact that is causing them to do things that otherwise wouldn't be done. So one side of it is I'd like your response to whether you think that the 24-hour shift is contributing to some of that behavior. And number two, I don't think the disciplinary action is strong enough in this department. I think that it needs to begin at the first level. The first supervisor needs to gain the culture to rid it out of the department. Now, I was golfing with a police officer yesterday, and there was a prank going on as we were golfing, and he was telling me that they started some rumor that he got in some fight in some bar with some sergeants, and he was just a P2. So it was kind of a funny thing, but it wasn't going to hurt anybody. Some of the things that go on in the fire department are not only wrong, they're dangerous. They have racial intonations, anti-gender actions, sexual preference, intimidation. All kinds of things are wrong, and so I have not seen a specific agenda. It's not the rhetoric is there, but you're not going to train this problem away. I think you need to scare it away, and I think you need to take some severe action on the perpetrators of these kinds of acts. So if you need backing, you have my support. And having said that, I can say that I'm a little familiar with human relations and labor relations, and I can tell you that unless you get a handle on the disciplinary action process and send a strong message that you will not put up, you will not tolerate these kinds of actions, it will continue, and we will continue to get sued, and we will continue to pay out taxpayer money and lose the opportunity to provide even more public safety services. It's a cyclical thing. I commend you for your career. I hope that you're up to this task. In fact, I believe that this is why you exist. That your major task is to rid this department of this blight of action that is negative, and we're here to back you up in that job.
Councilman, if I could respond. I agree discipline is a key component in correcting the areas that we need to be corrected in, but I think it's one of three components. As I stated earlier, I think the first part, we have to send a clear message of what is going to be expected and what is going to not be tolerated. I think the second part is training. And I say training, part of a key component, and you talked about the 24-hour shift, one of the key components or the most important element of our department are the captains in the station. We need to provide them more training as far as how to recognize situations early and how to address them. I think that's something we can definitely do a better job, and that's part of what we're going to be doing, because it all starts, in the field. It all starts at the fire station, and there's an officer there 24 hours a day. We need to give them the tools they need to, number one, to recognize, and then to take the proper action. The third part, the discipline, is part of it. What we have done, we've developed disciplinary guidelines that hold firefighters, captains, and officers, all officers, at a higher standard than what the standard city employee is held to. And that was all done with the stakeholders group. All the employee groups weighed in on that, and then those are the elements that are really going to bring us where we need to be.
Mr. Parks.
Thank you, Mr. President. Chief, I just want to tell you how proud I am of you and appreciate your 30-plus years in the fire department. Having grown up in this city, I know it's not been an easy task. And I only know that from Arnett Hartsfield, the stories that he's told me over time that has identified the real challenges in the fire department, and not only existing there, but just the promotional process. For you to now head 5,000-person fire department in the city of LA, I don't think people really appreciate what that means in 2007. As I used to say in the police department years ago, that the only time that people talked about future leaders, that minorities weren't even in the sentence. They weren't even in the consideration. To see that this has occurred today as a permanent fire chief, I just think it's something that people should step back and realize that it is a significant move forward, no matter what the issues are in the department. And we can talk at different committees about all those issues at some time, but I just think it's an issue that needs to be celebrated, that people need to pause and think about the historical moment and not lose sight of what that really the significance is. And for you to take on that mantle and go through the issues of saying, I will be the leader of a fire agency in the city of Los Angeles. And we know it impacts your family. I want to say thank you to the family, because no one knows better than you what toll it takes, that you will miss a couple of birthdays you will miss a couple of family outings because of the job, but you've made that commitment. I will just give you one suggestion. Don't change. The reason you're the chief is because who you are. So as all of this input comes and people talk about the needs, just be Chief Berry. Continue to do what you do, because that's why you're the chief of the fire department. And thank you for putting yourself in that position.
Thank you.
Mr. Weezer.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And Chief, congratulations. One thing that's been mentioned over and over today, and possibly you heard it as interim and even before, is the need to reform the LA Fire Department in terms of what we've seen and what got us to your appointment. Speaking frankly, I've heard over and over in committee and in this council floor about things we're doing to change, and I am honestly beginning to question whether we are on the right path to do that. But with your appointment, I feel a lot better, and I think looking at your credentials, your experience, what I've heard, this is the right direction for the city and for the fire department to go. I have a number of other questions, but I'll save those and look forward to continue working with you. Congratulations. And I think Bernard, our Parks, our council member, put it correct, and don't change. That's something that I have to tell myself as a council member now as well, in terms of representing the people and making sure we're doing the right thing at all times. Thank you very much.
Okay, our next speaker will be Councilmember Labange. After that will be followed by Mr. Reyes. Mr. Labange.
Chief Berry, it's good to see you. Congratulations, Roberta, thank you, and the whole family. I think what is so nice is when someone rises to the top and they come from Los Angeles, it makes me even prouder. Even though your old high school beat us 65-7 last Friday, old John Marshall took a whooping from Narbonne High School. Narbonne has served the city well. I know the Assistant Chief of Police, Earl Pasinger, is a graduate of Narbonne, so I think this is good, and we see that. And I think your life experiences, I think, will help. Your experience and your friendships and relationships, it's all a collaboration. And now this challenge that the fire department has is real important, because we live together in a firehouse for 24 hours, and you gotta remember what the rules are, what the ethics are, and that you're serving the public. And I think that message that you will get, I know you've been to well over half the 110 fire stations, and I've sometimes come behind you just by chance, and there's great respect for you, so I thank you. Tell me, what was your first firehouse that you worked in the city?
It was Fire Station 33 in South Los Angeles.
South on Main Street.
Right.
So what made you want to be a firefighter?
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I had a brother that was on LAPD, and I knew I didn't want to be a police officer. I thought that was a better way that I could serve the public.
See, that's very good, Mr. Zine. Take a note on that, Mr. Zine. We got you again. Very good. God bless the LAPD, Mr. Parks, but I think Chief Berry has it right. It's an amazing role that you play, because the alarm rings and you respond, and the choreography, if that's not the right word. What's when you conduct a symphony, that's what you did in Griffith Park, and the work of you and your deputy chiefs and your division chiefs and your assistant chiefs. It was a symphony that was done where no one was hurt, where only one house that the fire marshal would probably cite had a thatched roof, had a little $30,000 damage, and the fire was stopped well under 1,000 acres. It's truly remarkable how that worked, but that's all the training. Now the other side too is the challenge that we have now to make people believe in the city, that badge that they wear, that Los Angeles City Fire Department they represent, and don't do anything stupid that would embarrass themselves, their family, their department, or their city. So I just want to thank you. It's a long way from Fire Station 33, but that's great that you're here, and look forward to your continuation. I pledge my support and my staff support and all the programs that deal with the community, because it's real important to educate people, especially on preparedness, because if an earthquake happens, you're going to be the first responders, especially on a challenge of terrorism. You're going to be the first responders, and I think it's just real important that you continue that training, and wish you luck, Chief Berry, and call on me at any time, and thank the staff of the fire department, every firefighter, and the sound of my voice for their support of this chief as this department moves forward in a new era.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Reyes is our final speaker.
Thank you, Council President. And I just want to echo many of the thoughts and words and compliments to our chief. And I did want to raise one question that I brought up in committee. And it's important because I know that in certain parts of the city, we have firefighters and paramedics under one roof. And the levels of accidents and emergency responses multiply with the number of people living in one place.
Right.
And so in Westlake, for example, 40,000 people per square mile. Lincoln Heights, Cypress Park, 25, 30,000. It's increasing. And to me, the issue really is communication. And such a great city, very diverse, many cultures. And I just want to get from your point of view, under your leadership, how will the department continue to reflect this diversity?
Okay. One of the key points in our audit implementation plan has to do with recruitment. We're doing a focused recruitment on those areas where we can do better in. We're meeting weekly with the personnel department and mayor staff to make sure we keep on track and do the things necessary to make sure those areas are reflected in our workforce. And so we're working diligently on that. There's weekly meetings on it. We're tracking recruits from the time they apply, through the testing process, through the academy process, through probation, and on throughout their career.
You know, we know we have to go through an interim phase where we're retooling our mechanisms within our departments and how we bring in personnel. But I have one of the largest presence of Filipino, Tagalog communities, if not District 1, in the areas around District 1 and in District 1, Chinese, Japanese, Spanish.
Right.
How's the department today reaching out to the non-English speaking residents, given that the emergency issues are so critical, every second counts? What's happening today to address that?
Certainly. Throughout our department, we do have bilingual positions, both at our dispatch center, throughout the stations, and even in our surveillance staff and in the offices. One of the things I'm going to be focusing on within my purview is our media relations. We want to get more bilingual people in that area so we can speak out not only to the Spanish speakers, but other languages as well. And that's something we're going to be focused on hard this year.
And will we know through your reports on the progress of those types of initiatives and efforts?
Absolutely. Our recruitment is going to be part of our presentation that, again, is being vetted out. That's going to be explained to the council. They'll have an understanding of that, and I will be reporting back on the media side of it, whenever the council needs to find reports.
And last but not least, in the context of the quality of experience for our firefighters, Fire Station 1 in my district, one of the oldest.
Right.
We have old maintenance yards that were designed back in the 30s and 40s. The parking spaces aren't used as much as they should be. Antiquated facilities. Are we going to be looking at mixed uses and taking advantage of our air rights in our facilities, especially when you're so near the river? And we have so much dead space, underused space in areas that can use an increase in uses given the diverse needs of these very compacted and dense pockets. Is that a direction you see the department going?
Definitely. We're looking at several innovative ways to, number one, replace existing fire station and also build a new station as the need arises. Mixed use is definitely one of the things we're looking at, maybe a partnership with one of the other city departments to put together maybe a bond measure, something of that sort that we can work together on to benefit both departments.
You know, the ultimate challenge in this city, and I think we kind of chuckled about it in committee, is the biggest challenge we have is working with the bureaucracy of the city.
Yes.
And but we are in a new day. We have a mayor with endless energy. We have department heads that have come in and speak to each other and actually working as a team. So it's great to see a new addition to that team, working with the executive arm of this great city. On the legislative side, we are trying to promote all of the policies and laws that can allow us to get to that creativity. So as a planner by trade, please take advantage of our support of you, of the department, in trying to increase and improve the space for our firefighters, because it affects their attitude, it affects their ability to communicate, and overall performance and quality for the city. So thank you so much. Look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
Mr. Garcetti.
Thank you. I sometimes overquote Winston Churchill, who once said, all that needs to be said has been said, but it hasn't been said by everybody. So I will finish it off here. I want to thank you for the diligent work you've done. I think this council covered all the issues here, that the trust they have in you as a person, the trust they have in this department and the men and women who are part of it, and yet also the changes that need to restore that pride that we feel as we go to firehouses, that there is a deflation still out there. And that deflation comes from a lot of different directions. Some people who feel the department hasn't done enough in one direction, other people who feel the department's been too beat up. So it really takes some extraordinary leadership. You are coming in at a very challenging time, but we do in this body have our faith. It's rare somebody gets introduced as the next whatever before we take the vote, and we are the oversight body that needs to take that vote, so nothing's done till it's done. But it speaks volumes of the work that you've done, that we have that trust in you. And that trust comes with a willingness to work closely with you, to not grandstand on things, to try to resolve them, to be a partner with you. And I believe the mayor has that trust as well. You're in the DROP program as well?
That's correct.
And when does that sunset for you?
July 12th of 08.
08. I assume we will explore ways so that we're not voting necessarily on a less than 1 year appointment here, and I think that would be important to us. And do you have ideas in that area? Are we already thinking that through?
We've had discussions with the city attorney's office, and they're researching the issue. We'll come back to me with a plan.
Okay. Well, we just implemented a bounce program in the police department that we passed on Friday, which allows people who've been dropped to bounce back for a little bit. So maybe we can explore that as one of the mechanisms. But we certainly, if all that you've done so far continues to bear fruit as we expect it to, we want to see you here for a lot longer than 10 months. So you fully have my support. It's nice to meet your family, and we look forward to continuing to work with you.
Thank you.
You're not done yet. Councilmember Wesson.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. I think what I want to say first is how proud I am of the department's ability to do their job. This is, in my opinion, where it relates to firefighting, where it relates to outreaching to the community, the best fire department in the nation. And I recognize that there are problems and huge challenges that you have to face. Based on the relationship that you have with the upper brass and with the rank and file, I'm optimistic that you will make the changes that we on this council want and need to see to help elevate the comfort level of the rank and file and the citizens of Los Angeles. Now, I have always believed that this country that we live in is the greatest country on the planet. But let us be honest. We have flaws and we need to make changes. Chief Parks referenced the historic significance of your appointment. And that is a bigger thing than I think people have referenced today. I hope I live long enough so that I can see the day when people are judged by their deeds and their actions and not by the color of their skin. And the only way we will get to that point is when you have people of color and you have women in positions of power and you guys do the job and you do it good. So I'm very pleased with this appointment. I'm very proud of you, but more importantly, we are sending a message, a symbol you will become, that anything is possible if you work hard and if you dare to dream. Nothing is impossible. So welcome aboard, Chief. I'm excited about this opportunity to serve with you.
Thank you, Mr. Wesson. That concludes the council members. Mr. Clerk, open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Our new fire chief, Chief Berry. Congratulations.
President, Mr. President, can we take a group shot?
Group photo in the center, group photo. All right, Mr. Clerk, next item on the agenda, please.
Mr. President, there has been a request to continue item 27 for one day.
That's repeat that.
Item 27, that was a commission appointment. There has been a request to continue that one day to tomorrow.
Continue till Friday. Continue to Wednesday.
Wednesday the 19th.
Next item, please.
Item 7 was called special for cards from the public.
Item number 7, cards from the public. Should we hear those now? Item number 7. Mr. Sanchez. Mr. Sanchez, number 7. Followed by Martha Riley. Followed by Frank Wada. Go ahead, sir.
My name is Ernest Sanchez. I belong to a couple other community organizations, but the most important thing I come down here for is they want to issue another liquor license in a neighborhood where we have an abundance of liquor places where people can buy alcohol. And this last month, right in my block, we've had 4 shootouts contributing with liquor and drugs. So the neighborhood is really dramatized. They're scared to come out, and this looks like we're in a war or something. And it's changed in the last 2 or 3 months.
Mr. Sanchez, hold on a minute. Sergeant at Arms, can we have some quiet in the chambers, please? Thank you. Mr. Sanchez, continue, please.
I did a survey while I walked through the neighborhood, and on that Broadway area, we have about 22 markets where they sell liquor, including the CVC and Rite Aid. Now, I think that's, enough. That's sufficient for people that want to drink. That doesn't include the Vaughn's Market, which is also a contributor of alcohol. And I just want to, say my piece against giving them the permit to get alcohol. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Sanchez. Ms. Riley?
I'm expressing my opinion against the license as a founding member of the Lincoln Heights Neighborhood Council Planning Committee, although I'm not speaking for them at the moment. I'm involved in the effort to revitalize the Broadway business corridor. Our goal is to bring new customers in by providing a variety of healthful products, and alcohol sales do not contribute to the revitalization effort. There are currently many outlets, as Mr. Sanchez said, for alcohol in the area, and I believe that it's not in the best interest of the Lincoln Heights community. It's going in the wrong direction. I would like to also read a statement from a property owner by the name of Joseph Giovannini, who says, "Please convey to the City Council my strong opposition to granting a beer and wine license to the proprietors of 2131 North Broadway, the store at the corner of Avenue 22 and North Broadway. My building is 3 over from theirs, and I know that the social ecology of the neighborhood is extremely fragile and highly susceptible to either neighbors who drink or passersby who drink. The stability of the neighborhood has been hard won, and I do not want to see a relapse. Note that my building has residents as well as commercial tenants, and that Avenue 22 is a residential neighborhood with children and churches. My family has owned the building at 2209 North Broadway since 1936 and are keenly interested in maintaining the urban quality that has been won with some difficulty. I've already written the council about this and now reiterate my position. Joseph Giovannini." I wonder if I can submit these.
Thank you.
Can I do them?
Thank you. Mr. Wada, followed by Sergeant Marquez and Captain Chamberlain.
Hello, my name is Frank Wada.
A second. Mr. Reyes?
President, I'd like to ask, after the public speakers, to ask the captain and the sergeant to the front table as part of the record in our action today.
That'll be fine. Okay. Mr. Wada?
Hello, my name is Frank Wada. I belong to the Lincoln Heights Neighborhood Council as a board member of Area 5, which is around the Griffin Avenue Elementary School and the Sacred Heart High School. I'm also the Hollenbeck Community Police Board Advisory Member for Lincoln Heights. I submitted to for the record, in the Planning and Zoning Commissioner meeting, a map of the saturated area of all the on and off sale alcohol licenses, and I walked personally the 10-block radius all the way around this particular location. It is my understanding that the ABC, the state, said that we're oversaturated by alcohol permits for this area. I do not understand why we need a new license to increase the value of the business when there are same type of businesses along North Broadway without alcohol licenses. I also have a letter from the owner of El Pollo Loco stating that, I can read the letter, I, Juan Corona, the owner of the El Pollo Loco located at 2201 North Broadway, Los Angeles, am opposed to the ABC license that the people next to my business are trying to obtain. One of the reasons I oppose this is the high crime rate around the area. If the license is obtained, it will only increase ongoing robberies and drunken people around my restaurant. This already has caused drop sales, my sales to drop, and I have also lost customers who feel unsafe in the area. Adding one more alcohol license will just add to the crime and violence. Thank you for considering my opinion. I hope you take the right action on this matter, signed Juan Corona. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Guada. If the sergeant captain will come to the center table, please. Mr. Reyes.
Thank you, Council President. Again, I appreciate your attention to this matter, colleagues. We have with us Captain Todd Chamberlain and Sergeant Marcus. I want to thank the Lincoln Heights representatives, Ms. Riley, Mr. Wilder, Mr. Sanchez, for being here this morning. For the record, we have an application, a request for determination of public convenience or necessity for the sale of alcoholic beverages for the off-site consumption of 2131 at 2131 North Broadway, J.L. Meat Market in Council District 1. Is item 7 on today's Council agenda, Council File 07-2340. Pursuant to AB 2897, the Caldera Bill, as required by the State Department of Alcohol Beverage Control under Business and Professions Code Sections 23958 and 23958.4. Colleagues, I ask for us to deny this application, and I want to thank our officers. We tried to get you out here sooner, but we have to go to the business that we do. And I wanted to ask you, for the record, your observations in terms of the impact and the context by which this application is being requested.
Certainly. Hollenbeck area is constantly striving to make areas in and around Hollenbeck, and specifically in and around this area, a livable place, a civil place, and a place where families can come and go freely and without the threat of any violence. The impact of additional alcohol sales in this area would be very problematic to trying to strive towards that goal. Presently, within the Hollenbeck area, there are over 261 ABC licensed locations. ABC allows for up to 7 in that particular area, and presently there are already 13 ABC licensed locations. Crime and gang activity is active around that location. I pulled up the statistics. Actually, my sergeant pulled up the statistics for the year period from last September to this September. We've had roughly 423 crimes specifically in that area, in and around that location, that neighborhood, and they range from everything from aggravated assaults to burglary and theft from motor vehicles, burglaries, GTAs, 2 homicides, kidnapping. We've had vandalisms, trespass, number of sex crimes, robberies, and basically the total again comes up to 423. Last year, I don't remember exactly the time, but it was almost about a year ago, we actually had an officer-involved shooting that occurred during a vice operation, which involved the use of a decoy to go into a ABC licensed location in and around the location. the officers came out and subsequently with gang members became involved in a officer-involved shooting situation. So it's definitely a problem. There is definitely ample sales of alcohol in and around that location already. And I personally have never seen, when law enforcement is trying to effectively deal with crime problems, the addition of more alcohol consumption ever be favorable to that. So it's my consideration. It's also on behalf of Hollenbeck area, being the commanding officer, that we hope this also gets denied.
Sergeant, anything else you'd like to add?
Sure. I'm the sergeant in charge of the vice unit at Hollenbeck, and on the ground level, being out there day in and day out, we do encounter a lot of quality of life issues, which addresses the alcohol problems in that area. We cite numerous citations for drinking in public, and like the gentleman said earlier, there's already other avenues that the community can go and buy their alcohol. So another one would not help the community at this point.
Thank you, colleagues. And we are all struggling with the impact of, as we clean and try to focus on certain parts of the city, the alcoholism, the level of folks who are essentially on the streets drinking, literally in groups of 3, 4, as high as number of 6 in this area, very prevalent around our city parking lots. Unfortunately, we don't have enough of a presence of our police to deter this activity. Close by, you have 2 churches, the Young Neck Church, Iglesia del Nazareno. You have 2 recreation centers, Downey Rec Center, Lincoln Heights Rec Center. You have the Lincoln Heights Senior Center and La Fontana Adult Day Health Care. The elementary schools, Albion Elementary and Albion Early Education Center. So these are the parents with their kids having to walk by the presence of those who are inebriated, who walk around with their plastic bags with their half bottles that are half. It's literally just drinking out in the open. So we don't need another liquor store. We don't need more alcohol in the neighborhood. And I applaud the strong community leaders who've been doing everything in their power to control this type of presence. But it's overwhelming when you have over 20,000 people per square mile in this pocket. So the density here is very, very intense. And our poverty levels, I believe that half the community members in this area at or below poverty, at least 40% of the local area. So the pressures of poverty also takes its toll on the quality of life of this community. So with that, I ask you to deny this application with all the evidence said before us, including the presence of our community members and our leaders, and I encourage support to deny this application. Thank you.
So, Mr. Reyes, you were asking for an aye vote or a no vote?
To deny the application? You have a
so
motion.
It'll be an aye vote to deny.
Motion 7A to deny, and I'd like to support the alternate motion, which is 7A.
That matter is now before us. An aye vote denies the application. Open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Application denied. Thank you, Captain. Thanks, Sergeant. Next item, please.
Item 8, called special for cards from the public.
Item 8, we have George Holloway. Mr. Holloway.
Good morning, Council. I think this matter, I represent the probated state of Johnny May Joyce, who owns that property at that location. I believe the matter was on calendar last week, and Councilman Parks was good enough to ask that it be continued so that we could investigate the possibility of trying to work out some settlement. I think I've had a conversation with Ms. Reeves from the Building and Safety, and she has been able to work with us in trying to solve this problem. I defer to Councilman Parks.
Mr. Parks.
And after this conversation with City Family, that we waive a motion to waive the administrative fees, which amounts to $3,707.97, and that the remaining lien of $9,269.92 remain.
Okay, there's no other speakers on the queue, so the motion is to waive one and hold the other. Yes. Open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Thank you. Ms. Gruhl asked that we hold item 11 on the table. Mr. Reyes?
Mr. President, can we reconsider item 33, please?
Item number 33 open for reconsideration. Open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Next item, please.
Item 28 was being held on the desk, and this item was actually noticed for public hearing. Since there are no cards on the matter, council should open and close the hearing on this.
That'll be the case. The hearing is now open and closed.
And, Mr. President, I do believe there are some amendments on this item.
Mr. Parks? Mr. Parks on number 28?
Do you want to hold this on the desk as well, Mr. President?
We will give Mr. Parks a moment. If you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. President. Okay. I'd like to make an amending motion. First of all, that we amend the report and on the ordinance number 3, that we continue that until Tuesday, October 23rd, and that ordinance is calling for a special election for CFD number 8, attachment E of the CAO report, that we move ordinance 1 and 2, but also a new recommendation on ad number 4, that find the adoption of the ordinance is exempt from CEQA under Article 2, Section 2I of the city's CEQA guidelines. The project was previously evaluated for environmental significance, and a mitigated negative declaration was adopted. So if we could add number 4 and continue number 3 till Tuesday, October 23rd.
Very well. Open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Item 53 called special for cards from the public.
Item 53. We have Miriam Volger and Donna Perlman. That's in the Van Nuys headquarters, Van Nuys City Hall. They're gone. Okay. On number 53, open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
$14 ayes.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Items 55 through 58 were called special by Councilmember Parks.
Mr. Parks, 55 through number 58. You got the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm asking for community support and appeal on 4 reward motions. One is, the first one on 55 is a renewal. The homicide occurred on Tuesday, July 2nd, 2002 at 9:25 a.m. 20-year-old Rondell Triplett was riding his bicycle in front of his residence in the 500 block of West 77th Street when a beige light-colored vehicle approached him without provocation. Gunshots were fired from the vehicle, striking Rondell Triplett numerous times. Unfortunately, he succumbed to his injuries, and we're asking that this be renewed for 6 months. And anyone having information that might lead to the clearance of this crime, we ask that they call South Bureau Homicide at 213-485-2417. And then on item 56, we have another renewal on a motion for a reward. This case happened on November the 11th, 2006 at 1:15 p.m. 38-year-old Jacqueline Nelson was fatally shot near 49th Street in Normandy in South Los Angeles. She was walking eastbound on 49th Street when unknown suspects fired multiple gunshots, causing her demise. Again, if anyone has information, call South Bureau Homicide at 213-485-2417. The next one we have on crime occurred on April 30th, 2006 Approximately 4 a.m., 29-year-old Ronnie Arch was fatally shot in front of 1937 West 43rd Street in South Los Angeles. Mr. Arch was sitting on his front porch when two other individuals who were sitting inside a parked vehicle in front of the location, and the vehicle was an SUV-type vehicle, began firing from the vehicle. Mr. Arch was fatally wounded with a gunshot to the head. Again, also we had another victim that was injured at the time Mr. Arch succumbed to those injuries. Again, we'd ask anyone that has information to call South Bureau Homicide at 213-485-2417. And then the final one is a recent homicide in which we had a double homicide that occurred on August the 19th, 2007, where a brother and sister, Roberto Santiago Jr. and Beatriz Santiago, were fatally shot while attending a party at 1400 block of 38th Street. According to LAPD, unknown suspects shot into the backyard of this location from an adjacent alley. The victims were shot in the torso and died as a result of those injuries. And we'd ask that, again, that the public, anyone having information, would call South Bureau Homicide at 213-485-2417.
Thank you, Mr. Parks. Mr. Clerk, on those items, open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Did you want anything else?
Those matters pass. We'll now go to number 11.
Item 11 was called special by Councilmember Gruhl.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zine and Mr. President. I know we have a couple of cards there. Mr. Garcetti, if we could briefly open the public comment and just say a few opening remarks. Colleagues, before us is an item that I believe and a measure that's going to protect our children, keep our families healthy, and keeping our public spaces smoke-free. We are very, very familiar with the facts. Secondhand smoke is responsible for an estimated 38,000 deaths among non-smokers each year. The EPA has classified secondhand smoke as a Group A carcinogen, the most dangerous class of carcinogens. We cannot allow these dangers to affect our workers and children. I've been proud of this council and so many people, Ms. Perry and Mr. LaBonge, and Mr. Weiss, who have been leading the banning on beaches, near playgrounds, and in parks. To me, it's a common sense next step to prohibit smoking in farmers markets. Farmers markets are where families visit, where they prepare and handle food, where workers doing their job simply cannot leave when someone lights up nearby, or if you're picking up that apple or those strawberries or whatever else it may be, you do not necessarily want someone smoking next to the food you are just about ready to purchase. So I encourage my colleagues to join with me and Mr. Wiesar in taking this first step to secure, for us, I think, smoke-free farmers markets. It was one of those things when approached by the Alliance, and they asked me about different things, and they said that farmers markets were not smoke-free areas. It seemed like a common-sense thing to do to protect all of our residents, and particularly to protect us at farmers markets. So I'd like to I think there's just a few speakers, Mr. Garcetti, who have come down here and waited. If we could just have them speak briefly. And
we have 7 public speaker cards, and we've had a public hearing. How long would you like to have
5
a public
minutes
hearing
is fine, I think,
Okay.
and they can
Or maybe a minute
adjust.
each, 7 minutes or something?
Each, yes, that'd be great.
All right. So our first speaker is Robert Donen, and after that will be Steve Gallegos.
Good morning, Mr. President, members of the council. It's a pleasure to come before you today to ask for your support on item 11. I've been a long-time tobacco control advocate, and it's just a pleasure to congratulate Councilmember Gruhl, Councilmember Wiesar, who our chairman is now a constituent in Mr. Wiesar's district, and of course Councilman Alarcon, and of course the Arts, Parks, Health, and Aging Committee report for bringing this forward. I think this is something that needs to go, and would like to request that you move forward and render an aye vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Stephen Gallegos, and then we'll go out to the Valley for Miriam Fogler.
Good morning. My name is Stephen Gallegos with the American Lung Association of California. I'm also a volunteer with the Studio City Farmers Market, mostly because my wife Carol is the manager. At the Farmers Market, we strive to meet the expectations of our customers and the members of the community who make the Farmers Market a weekly part of their life, a quality of life activity they look forward to. As you already know, farmers markets in the city of Los Angeles are wholesome, family-friendly environments that provide farm-fresh produce and natural products to families for their consumption and enjoyment. Children, seniors, and others vulnerable to serious and immediate reactions to secondhand smoke shouldn't have to fear a trip to a farmer's market. Yesterday afternoon, I met with managers of the certified farmers markets permitted by the city to operate in communities throughout Los Angeles. They told me that while they may have a market policy of no smoking allowed, they lack an ordinance to enforce their policy. When a smoker lights up at our market, we get many complaints. We have to... Thank you.
Thank you. If you have anything else you'd like to submit, the Sergeant at Arms would be happy to take that testimony. We'll go out to Van Nuys next for Miriam Fogler. And then Donna Pearman will be after that. Neither? Okay. We'll pass on those then. And Janice Chow is our next speaker. And Dora Gill will follow her.
Thank you for your time, council members. The American Cancer Society commends you for making the health of the city of LA a priority and protecting us all from the dangers of secondhand smoke with this ordinance. The dangers of secondhand smoke are very well documented in demonstrating that secondhand smoke is an outdoor hazard. I'd like to cite a report from the California Air Resources Board where they monitor the outdoor nicotine concentrations in a range of settings and found that the primary and often only exposure for individuals who do not spend time near smokers is outdoors in locations over which the individual has little control. This is why the ordinance is all the more important for families and individuals who visit the LA City farmers markets. The American Cancer Society supports our continued efforts to protect non-smokers from secondhand exposure. Thank you.
Dora Gill, and after that, Marlene Gomez.
Good morning. My name is Doris Stella Gill, Advocacy Director for the American Heart Association. The American Heart Association congratulates the City of Los Angeles for recognizing the need to protect its residents from exposure to the dangers of secondhand smoke, especially at their local farmers markets. The American Heart Association has over 20 offices in the state of California that is working hard to pass such ordinances as these as smoke-free farmers markets. Many popular Southland destinations are already smoke-free, including and most recently all our LA City parks. Dodger Stadium, LA Zoo, Rose Bowl, and most of our Southland beaches. On behalf of the American Heart Association, we applaud the City of Los Angeles and thank Council Members Gruhl and Huizar for supporting us on this important issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Marlene Gomez will be our last speaker.
Good morning, council members. My name is Marlene Gomez. I am the Vice Chair of the Coalition for a Tobacco-Free Los Angeles County. We want to thank you for your leadership in protecting people from secondhand smoke in your beaches, most recently in your parks. As many of you are aware, the California Air Resources Board declared tobacco smoke a toxic air contaminant. It is in the same category as the most toxic automotive and industrial air pollutants, for which there is no safe level of exposure. Farmers markets promote healthy living practices. Cigarette smoke and litter is inconsistent with the mission of farmers markets. The Coalition for LA County Tobacco Free, the coalition is in full support of protecting people from secondhand smoke at the farmers markets, and we ask that you take the steps necessary to continue to protect patrons of farmers markets from secondhand smoke. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Gomez. And with that, we'll go to Mr. Huizar as our next speaker.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I was happy to co-sponsor this along with Ms. Gruo, and I thank her for her leadership, and also Councilmember Labange, Perry, and Cardenas for Arts and Parks, who voted unanimously to move this forward. I think it fits consistently. One of the reasons we want farmers markets is because we want to provide healthier options for people to buy fresh produce, etc. And in terms of healthier living, what better way to do that than to support on city-funded farmers markets, having healthier environments for people to shop so that they do not get contaminated with the secondhand smoke. I also want to thank the supporters who came out today. It's important for you to keep speaking up. This is not the last place. The city, as you know, voted to ban or to limit, severely limit the exposure of secondhand smoke at beaches and our parks. And I want to congratulate you and thank you all for your support on this vote.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rizar. Anybody else on this item? If not, Madam Clerk, let's prepare the roll and tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
That is approved. Thank you all very much and appreciate you being here. Next item, please.
Item 33 was reconsidered by Councilmember Reyes.
Okay. Item 33, Mr. Reyes.
Just call for an aye vote. Thank you.
Okay. Go ahead, and if nobody else wishes to be heard on this, let's go ahead and open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Okay, that is approved. Next item, please.
Item 59, called special by Councilmember Perry.
Hey, Ms. Perry.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. On August the 21st, 2007, 23-year-old Herbeth Hernandez was fatally shot while driving his car in the area of 75th and San Pedro Street. According to the Los Angeles Police Department, Mr. Hernandez had just dropped off his girlfriend and 6-year-old daughter when his car was shot with a shotgun. The detectives hope that a monetary reward of $50,000 may motivate witnesses to come forward and identify the individuals responsible for Mr. Hernandez's murder.
Nobody else wishes to be heard on this item. Please prepare the roll and tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
That is approved. Next item, please.
There is a special one, and the city attorney will speak to the findings.
Mr. City Attorney, on the findings.
Thank you, Mr. President. Since the posting of today's agenda, 3-week-old Luis Angel Garcia was fatally shot, and 37-year-old Francisco Clemente was shot and critically wounded at the corner of 6th Street and Burlington Avenue. Immediate action is required to offer the reward to apprehend the suspect as soon as possible for the safety of the community. Council must first make findings pursuant to Government Code Section 54954.2 before considering the substantive motion.
Thank you. Anybody on the findings? If not on the findings, let's open the roll on that, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
That is now before us, Mr. Reyes.
Thank you, Council President. Because with a heavy heart, we need to move this $75,000 to hopefully bring out a witness that tragically has a mother grieving right now for her 3-week-old baby, Luis Angel Garcia, who was fatally shot on September 17th in the evening. 37-year-old Francisco Clemente was critically wounded, both while at the corner of 6th Street and Burlington Avenue. Now, colleagues, you've made statements to me in the past where how is it that 6th Street could be so dirty and full of people, and why isn't the city cleaning this area up, which is just going east from MacArthur Park? So it's not just the visual blight, but it's actually the terror that the local gang members hold the communities in hostage. It's unfortunate that an infant is killed this way. It's just as tragic that a community feels that it can't do anything about it because it lives in terror, the intimidation by these gang members. I'm hoping this $75,000 will convince someone. To put into context, they estimate over 100 people, as high as 200, were in the area when the shooting occurred. It occurred at a time in which the Fiestas Patrias, the Central American celebration, was going on. Celebrations for El Grito in the same corridor, in the same area. And yet, no one steps up. What kind of city do we have in which we allow our sidewalks to be used as sources of income by gang members because we don't have either the will, desire, and I keep being told it's the resources that keeps us from having 2 or 3 officers, maybe 4, routinely go down that corridor and tell everyone who's selling illegally that this is not permitted. Now, it's not just a vending issue. It's now become an issue where infants, babies are dying because we allow this practice to occur. We are allowing these heinous acts, these monsters who control our sidewalks, and they make money off of our sidewalks by collecting rent. This is what the gang members are doing to our citizens, to our residents. And I'm told we don't have enough officers to clean this up. So I link the two. You have a mother who is unemployed, a mother who has her baby in her hands and is not sure if the baby was in the carriage or in her hands as the bullets were shot. And the reason she had to go there, because she could not afford the baby's clothes. So she went to the sidewalk, vendors, to buy cheap items she couldn't afford because she was unemployed. Now it happened to one baby. And we've seen countless times how children have died on our streets because we don't have enough resources. I ask you, colleagues, I plead to the chief, I ask the mayor, let's clean up 6th Street. Yes, it's a lot of work, it's a lot of trouble, but if we took away the supply, we'd eliminate the demand. And we should find other ways in which parents, moms, single parents, should have to resort to very dangerous places in which illegal vendors sell pirated goods, cheap wares, and where gang members collect money for using our public sidewalks. I have 4 children. I can't imagine what the mom is going through. 3 weeks and the baby's gone. That shouldn't happen here, anywhere. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Reyes. Mr. Zine.
Mr. Reyes, I know the concern that you have for this innocent child killed here in the city of Los Angeles. And I was told by some officers, this reminds me of the Al Capone days when the mobsters would get protection money from businesses, which is exactly what I believe is happening. And an innocent child and a vendor who didn't die, who's in the hospital. It is beyond imagination how this happens in the city of Los Angeles. And I think it's incumbent upon the police department, and we've been battling this, and Ms. Perry is concerned about the issues in her district and the lack of police officers. And when you have 9,500 police officers, you would think that there'd be sufficient resources to handle this type of tragedy, to have a visible presence, not only in your district, Ms. Perry's district, but other districts that have this gang violence. And when the gangs become so brazen that they intimidate vendors, which I believe is the case here, all the other vendors are then going to roll over and give whatever protection money they ask. The gang members are going to say, we want so much money so you can operate in this community that we own. And don't worry about the police because they're not going to come in and do anything about it. So I support what you're doing. I hope that the police department listens to these cries for help and that this mother who now has to bury a child, an infant, because of violence in the city of Los Angeles sends a strong message that we need to have more police officers on the streets, more police officers handling this, and more activity towards these vicious gangs that have no consideration for anyone. And there's RICO statutes. There's a number of statutes that are on the books. Ms. Hahn has done diligent work down in her district trying to control. So it's not just one part of the city, but these gangs get a stronghold on these businesses, and then they demand protection money. And if they don't get the protection money, we see the consequences. And this innocent baby is now dead, and the vendors in the hospital because of ruthless gang members. And I've heard the news reports that they've got witnesses. Witnesses need to come forward. There's that $75,000 reward. Witnesses need to come forward so the perpetrators can go to court and face the consequences. But over and above that, the police department needs to address this in a vigorous manner. And I don't think it's been addressed in a vigorous manner. And when you look at the numbers of officers who are assigned to non-police street functions, I think the numbers are staggering, and we're supposed to get a report back in public safety to that effect. How many assigned all these other entities, and the consequences is what we see, the tragedy. So my heart goes out to the family. Ed, I know you're very concerned about this, and that tragedy should not occur, and those gang members should not be able to intimidate anyone in the city of Los Angeles and ask for protection money. And this is just like Al Capone and Elliot Ness, and one's going to win and one's going to lose. And if the people of Los Angeles don't stand up and do something, then we're all going to be held victim and hostage by the ruthless thugs who don't care about anyone except what they want to do and tread on everyone's rights and freedoms.
Thank you, Mr. Zahn.
And just a reminder, council members, this is an urgent item, exception to the Brown Act. The discussion should be tailored to the reward motion.
Ms. Perry, Mr. Rosendahl, Ms. Hahn.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will make sure that my comments are tailored to the aspects of the reward motion. I wanted to say on the record that I support the fact that Mr. Reyes has done it, and it is an emergency. It is critical. I have actually witnessed at night on weekends out there on 6th Street when the LAPD has attempted to rein in that activity and clear the sidewalk, and it is an overwhelming task. The night that I was able to observe it, there were 2 officers out there, and that was it, and probably hundreds of vendors. It's overwhelming, and yeah, we need help, and we need it now. I know I'm going to go off on a tangent, so I'll stop. You know what I think of all that. But absolutely, there are not enough cars in our area, your area, my area. It doesn't happen all over the city. It is not a citywide problem. It happens in our community, Janice's community, Bernard's. That's where it happens. It is not happening all over the city. People can't even fathom what it means to have somebody that small taken like that, and that people are so terrified that they can't even speak because they know that they will be next.
Thank you, Ms. Perry. Mr. Rosendahl is next.
Yes, I also rise, Mr. President, in support of Mr. Reyes on this. I just have to always think of Augustine Contreras. I lost 5 young men in my district last year. All of the city has the gang issue, one level or another, and whatever we can do as a group to support one another on this is what we have to do. An infant, I mean, it's just unspeakable. The whole thing is disgusting. That's another reason why we're going to support Ms. Hahn's ballot initiative for after-school stuff. I mean, it matters so much. And of course, let's do this emergency motion and unanimously approve it. Thank you, Mr. Reyes, for your leadership.
Ms. Hahn.
Thank you. I absolutely will stand up and support this. Hopefully this reward will bring out someone so that we can give our LAPD the resources they need, the names they need to go after this unspeakable, horrible crime and those that did this. It's unbelievable. We got to get these people off the streets, and our sympathies go out to this young mother. I can't imagine. I was talking to Ms. Grohl. You know, when you've got a 3-week-old baby, there are a number of things you worry about. There are a number of things you think could possibly injure them or hurt them or, God forbid, take their life. But it's probably not. You don't think about gunfire as being one of those. And we need more police officers. But colleagues, I hope we also remain firm on the fact that it's not just about suppression. It's not just about arresting. We have arrested 450,000 people in relationship to gang violence. And we have more gangs today than we've ever had. We have more gang members than we've ever had. We've got to work to choke off their recruitment efforts. We've got to get the next generation of people who won't join a gang. I had a 17-year-old who was shot and killed in Harbor Gateway on Saturday night. He had one foot in the gangs, one foot out. He was trying to decide if that's the lifestyle he wanted, and was gunned down by an opposing gang. Those are the people. Those are the young people. We've got to get early. We've got to give them other options. We've got to give them a lifestyle that does not lead them into gang violence, because we will never solve this gang problem by just suppression alone. But I do support this reward motion, and hopefully LAPD will be able to find who did this and put him away.
Mr. LaBonge.
Thank you very much. I rise to support this effort here, and there's no tragedy. And I think, as Ms. Hahn spoke, from a mother's perspective, how do you explain it to a mother when the child is born and all the challenges? As we know, you're a father of four, Ed, and what it must be. And I know we just had a conversation about MacArthur Park, which in that region and what has transpired there. I know that these reward motions do help, so we'll get the news out in all multimedia variety, and hopefully right people will come forward. These people were brought to justice and be removed and never see the light of day again. To take someone's life like that in such a senseless manner. Thank you.
That is our last speaker on this one. If we can please prepare the roll and tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
And we'll send that forthwith, Mr. Reyes, without objection, to the mayor for his signature. Next order of business, please.
Council has motions for posting and referral.
Those are posted and referred.
There are excuses on the desk. Councilmember Hahn, request to be excused Wednesday, September 19th for city business. That meets council policy.
Ms. Hahn is excused.
Councilmember Reyes, request to be excused December 4th, 5th, and 7th for city business. That meets council policy.
Mr. Reyes is excused.
Councilmember Perry, request to be excused October 17th for city business. That meets council policy.
And she is excused as well.
Councilmember Gruhl, request to be excused to leave at 11:45 on September 25th for personal business. That meets council policy.
Ms. Gruhl is excused.
And Councilmember Huizar, request to be excused Wednesday, November 7th for city business. That also meets council policy.
Mr. Huizar is excused.
Desk is clear.
All right. Mr. Parks?
55 through 58 forthwith.
Those are 55 to 58 forthwith without objection?
55 through 58.
Okay. Through. Without objection, we'll send those forthwith as well. And any announcements, colleagues? Now it's time for announcements. Again, I know a couple people weren't here. The way we have announcements in future, starting this Friday, is for the coming week. If you'll bring announcements in your district during Friday when we have Channel 35, we'll ask folks to do kind of PSA-style stand-ups. In the meantime, feel free to continue to announce things until Friday. It's not directed towards anybody, Mr. Parks. Don't believe your colleagues there. We're all guilty. But we will use that as a way of starting this Friday. So bring your events for next week, or this Friday. But any announcements for this week or any business items, Mr. Parks?
No,
you're right.
attorney motions.
Okay. Any other announcements, colleagues? Anybody?
I'm done, sir.
If not, can I please ask everybody in council chambers to please rise for our adjourning motions? Thank you. We'll begin with Ms. Hahn.
During the memory of Joe Manzano, who is the uncle of one of my staff members, Terry McKinnon, who passed away at the age of 69. Joe was originally from New Mexico and moved with his family to East Los Angeles in 1946, where he attended Roosevelt High School. He later enlisted in the Army and was a paratrooper in the 82nd Airborne. Joe married his high school sweetheart, Sarah, and together they had 4 children. He was a member of the Pico Rivera Men's Club and Knights of Columbus. He's survived by his wife of 48 years, Sarah, his children, Annette, Arlene, Joey, and John, 10 grandchildren, 5 great-grandchildren, 3 brothers, and his longtime business partner, Paul. Services are scheduled for this Thursday morning at 9 a.m. at St. Louis of France Church in La Puente.
Thank you. Mr. Huizar.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to adjourn Council Day in honor of the grandmother of my planning director, Jessica Wellington McLean, whose grandmother passed away, Pauline Nicely Dyer. She passed away in her sleep at age 88 on Monday at her home in Cincinnati, Ohio. Pauline was born in 1919 in Pineville, Kentucky. She was of strong Irish stock and held her own among 6 brothers on the Kentucky farm. During World War II, she married Army soldier Grover Dyer when he returned from duty, and the newlyweds moved to the big city of Cincinnati. While the war continued on, Mrs. Dyer, like so many women of her generation, heard the call of her country and went to work. She first served as a seamstress for the war effort, sewing hospital gowns, and later was employed at the Crossley Radio Company in Cincinnati, assembling parts for military radio devices. Life was not without its struggles, but Pauline Dyer's zest for life shined through. She loves to sing, and she won a Charleston dance contest as a teenager. Even in her elder years, she would still do a bit of shuffle when the mood struck her. Her core values were family, loyalty, truth, honor, respect, and pride. Mrs. Dyer led by a Christian example and will be missed by all who knew her. Mrs. Dyer survived by her 2 children, Robert Ray Dyer and Dorothy Wethington, and their spouses, Jenny and Harold, her 4 grandchildren, Laurie, Jessica, Matthew, and Christopher, and 1 great grandson, Spencer.
Thank you very much. Mr. Labange.
Members, I'd like to ask you to adjourn in memory of Alex Romero, who lived to be the great age of 94. He was a great dancer and choreographer, a great dancer. His most famous scene that he ever put together, which you all remember, the 1957 Jailhouse Rock scene. In that session in that film, he was the one who designed that whole dance scene. He lived to be 94, died in the motion picture home in Woodland Hills. His wife preceded him in death in 1998, and he has 3 children surviving.
Thank you,
Alex Romero.
Thank you. Mr. Parks.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd ask that we adjourn in memory of Rose Orlando, and she's the mother of my budget deputy, Steve Angale, who passed away Friday, September the 7th. She was born in 1923. She suffered a massive stroke and went into a coma. Before her retirement in 2000, she had served 5 elected terms as a counselor in Kazemu County Council from 1980. She was elected by her fellow county councilors to the post of vice chair to the civic body and became the first woman to hold that position in post-independence Kenya. She was designated to serve as her church lay reader for much of her life. She's a member of the local school board. She served as a representative in the provincial women's development movement. In addition, she served as a nurse during the Kenyan struggle for independence. She's also a business entrepreneur most of her life. She is survived by her brother, 2 sisters, 9 children, 38 grandchildren, and 19 great-grandchildren. Also, I'd ask that we adjourn in memory of Barbara Jean Kaufman Bergen, who passed away Saturday, September the 8th. She was born in Chicago, Illinois, and she was educated in Chicago. However, after the first grade, she moved to Los Angeles and eventually graduated from Centennial Senior High School. She was a special education administrator and secretary for the LA County School District for over 25 years. She was a champion for rights of children with special needs. In addition, she volunteered to numerous political campaigns. She accepted a job that added to the improvement of people in social, political, and economics. She was survived by her 3 children, 4 sisters, and a host of other relatives.
Thank you, Mr. Parks. Mr. Rosendahl.
Alicia Navarro was born in Michoacano, Mexico on February 2nd, 1942. Frankly, I was with her just the other day at the 40th birthday of her son, Tony, and she was just full of life, and it was just a sudden death. She was the oldest of 6 siblings, and she was almost like a mother to the 3 youngest sisters. From there, she had moved to Mexico City, where she met and married her husband of 42 years, Jose, after the birth of her son, Tony, and her 2 eldest daughters, Bertha and Mary Lou. They immigrated to the United States and lived over 30 years within the Mar Vista Council area. She dedicated her life to her children and to her family and friends. She worked with the Jafra Cosmetics, a health and beauty line that took her and her husband on fun travels across the U.S. as a result of her hard work and accomplishment. She loved her family, always concerned about her children's education and grandchildren. She loved music, art, flowers, and as her daughter Mary Lou said, she always found an excuse to get everyone doing together to celebrate. She lived a full life with love for everyone. In fact, that 40th birthday party, she was the belle of the ball, to be candid with you. She's survived by her mother, who is just unable to accept this, but we have to accept all of this. Her 5 siblings, Lupita, Manuel, Rosemarie, Nerva, and Carmen. Her loving husband, Jose, and her 5 children, as I mentioned, Tony and Bertha and Mary Lou, Betty, Carlos, and her 6 grandchildren, Rita, Samantha, Joey, Emma, Nicholas, and Sean, and her supportive son-in-law, Mike and Steve. Her legacy and her strength were love for her family, that love that strengthens, that will help them get through the difficult times. Ms. Narara passed away last Tuesday, September 11th, 2007, after suffering from complications of diabetes. May she rest in peace.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rosendahl. Mr. Zine.
Thank you, Mr. President. Flor de Maria Mascaras passed away August 8th, age 70, born in Puerto Rico, lived there until age 13, moved to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, remained there until age 26, decided to move to Southern California where she met her husband, Arthur. Flor and Arthur remained in California and raised their family until she retired from Los Angeles County after 27 years as a financial control supervisor. In 1999, she and her husband, Arthur, moved to Albuquerque where she lived out the rest of her days. She will forever remain in their hearts, will always be remembered as a very special person, survived by her husband of 43 years, Arthur, children, David, a sergeant with the Los Angeles Police Department, Daniel, and a host of other family relatives. May she rest in peace.
Thank you, Mr. Zine. Any other adjourning motions, colleagues? If not, Mr. Clerk, will you please call the roll? We will next be in session, colleagues, tomorrow, which is Wednesday, September 19th, here in John Ferraro Council Chambers. Have a great afternoon, and this meeting of the Los Angeles City Council is adjourned.